This easy to follow tutorial will help you create a simple animated calendar in Figma using components. Okay, so we are going to begin creating this calendar UI right here. This is the final result that we want. This calendar right here, this is the final result that we want for our calendar design. So let's begin creating this. I'm going to shift this to the side and then just zoom into this space right here. These are the colors I'm going to be using, by the way. And the first thing that we're going to need to do is to create the component. That is the day component, is what I call it. And how we are going to go about doing that is to create a text right here. I'm going to use number 1. You can see that very well right now. Let me zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to make this an auto layout by right clicking and adding auto layout. From now henceforth, I'm going to be using Shift A. That's a shortcut on Windows. Shift A to create an auto layout. So next I'm going to make this fixed width, fixed height, and so that I can make this equal width and height. That's why I made that fixed. Perfect. I'm going to put the element in the center, and that's about it. I will rename this the day. Just call this day for now. It's going to be my day component, and I'm going to add a fill for now. And let me just give this a random color, or let me just pick a color right away from this color codes that I have here. So I'm just going to pick this. You can use any color of your choice, but that's the color I want for my design, for my calendar design. That's my primary color. And I'm going to make this round by holding the corner radius here and dragging to the right into this round. 27 works for me. And now I am going to hide the fill just so I can turn this into a component and then create other components with the fill. So this is going to be my default mode. So I'm going to just click on this to turn this frame into a component. So click on it, you see it has changed its color, and then we'll add a variant by clicking the add button up there. And on this variant, I'm going to call this variant the selected variant or field, whichever works for you. And then I'm going to turn on the fill mode. So that's for my selected. And now I'll add another variant again. And for this variant, I don't want the fill. I only want the stroke around it. This is going to be my current date variant. And for that, I want to copy this color code right here. And then hide the fill, turn on stroke, and paste the variant. You're using Ctrl C and Ctrl C for this to copy this, Ctrl V to paste this into the stroke. And then that's it. Boom. It has changed. And for the text, I want to first of all change the color of the text to something very close to black. In fact, I think I have a color here for the text. Let me just pick that real quick. So I'm going to press I to bring out the color picker, and then pick this dark shade right here. Perfect. Okay, that's looking good so far. And then yeah, that's looking good so far. And then next, I am going to create another variant, and this variant is going to be the hover state. So yeah, I'm just going to rename this over here, hover. And for this, I don't want a stroke, so I'm going to take off the stroke and just take it out there, just like that. And then I want a fill, but not this shade. This is too bright for my hover state. So I'm going to press I to bring out the color picker and then select this color right here for my hover state. Alright, perfect, that works. Alright, great. The next thing I want to do is to turn this into text. Add text properties to this text that are inside this component. So how I'm going to do that is to select all of them and then go here to content, create text property, and then the name should be text, and the value can be 1. That works for me. So I'll create a property, and that's it. Perfect. It makes this easier later on. Yeah, so this are my components. This is the default state. This is the selected state. This is the current state. I forgot to name this. Let me name this current. And this is my hover state. Okay, next we're going to start creating our calendar right now. For that, I'm going to create a frame. Start by creating a frame. I want to use size 385 for the width and 495 for the height. So let me just make this smaller for 85 for the height. Okay, and for this frame, I'm going to call this frame the container frame, and I'll turn this into an auto layout by clicking the add add button on the right panel. Alright, great. And then I want to make this fixed width and fixed height, so it doesn't, reshape. It doesn't change sizes when or scale smaller when I put an element inside. Alright, so next up I want to create we're going to create the top section first of all, because that's the section that's going to help us, to know the date that has been selected, and it's also going to have the title inside of it. So how we're going to start doing that is to create first another frame. This is going to be my content frame. I'm just going to draw a shape inside of here loosely and make that filled width and filled height, so you can take up all the space. And I want to take off this padding on the container for now, just so everything laps very well. And for this, I'm going to rename the frame inside of it the content frame, and I'm going to turn that into an auto layout as well. Perfect. This one fill. Alright, next up, I'm going to start creating that top section by adding text. I'm going to call this select dates. Let me just use small letters. So that's my title, and we'll create another text by pressing text box by pressing Ctrl D, and I'm going to name this one. Let me just add a random date here and put Wednesday. We can just pick the date that was in our UI, Wednesday, January 18. Okay. Alright, so for this two, I want to turn them into frames of their own. So I'm going to hit Shift A to turn this into not just frames but auto layout frames. Shift A. And that's it. You can also do this. Let me Control Z. You can also do this by right clicking and adding auto layouts. It works the same way. And I'm just going to name this here. I'm going to call this top section, to be very literal. I'm going to spread this all across the screen by hitting fill container. Yeah. And on the contents frame, I want to remove the padding left and right. And this back on fill container. Okay, great. Alright, so now next up we have to add some styling to the top so that things can look better as we go. I'm going to change the size of this to 32. Okay, that's okay. And yeah, so this, I'm going to turn this into a frame or an auto layout frame so that it can have a special styling for itself as well. So Shift A to do that quickly. 0 and then 10 for the left and right padding. Perfect. Fill the container. And I want to add some padding for the left side of this, or just left and right side. So I'm going to, that's for the top section part. I want to add some padding in there. So I'm going to make this 16. Right, that works. Next up, I want to add some colors into this so that things can look, better. So I'm going to add a fill to this next, and that's to this frame, and I'm going to name this frame the manual selector. Okay, I think I hit the wrong button there, and I'm just going to hit I to bring out the color picker, and I'm going to select this color right here for now. And then for this text, I'm just going to leave that text like that for now. Later on in the video, we're going to start styling. So yeah, for now it looks okay. And I'm just going to separate this by adding fill. Okay, and I'm going to add some top and bottom padding for this. So let's use 16 as well. Alright, great. And I want to take this little space that's up here out of here, because there's a little space here. I'm going to remove that from the content frame. Alright, so things are looking much better now. I'm going to change this a little bit, just as this is just a placeholder color for now. Alright, so that's it for our top section. Next up, we are going to start creating the calendar itself, that is the numbers itself, and the year picker. Okay, so we're going to continue by creating a year picker down here just beneath this first of all. So by clicking on T, creating a new text box right here, I'm going to name this January 2023. I'm going to turn this into an auto layout, hitting Shift A. Remove the padding from up and down. Padding left and right can be 16 to match the one at the top, and I'm going to fill the container. And I want to name this frame, let's just call this the year picker, as very literal. Take this to the center, reduce the text size to, I want to use 14 as my normal body text, so let's change this to 14. Alright, great. So that's almost it for our year picker. We just need to add some icons, to switch between the months and then to pick the year. We're going to add an arrow here so we can click it, and then a drop down will come up, and then left and right arrow that's normally going to help us shift the month, change the month of that particular year. Alright, so I'm going to use Iconify. Iconify is the plugin I use to add icons, because it helps me to add icons directly to frames, and it works perfectly well for me. So I'm running it right now. That's coming up. So yeah, first of all, okay, so I'm going to search for arrow up here, and just once I click on it, you can see right here it shows you the frame that you've selected. So it works so nicely. If I press import, you're going to see that it's going to import this icon directly into this frame. Import icon. See, so it works so nicely. So let me style this real quick. I want it to be, this is too big, so I'm going to click this to change the width and height simultaneously. So I'm going to change this to 16, try 16, and then I'm going to duplicate it and send this one to the right. And I want to turn this one the other way, so I'm going to turn it 180 degrees. Perfect. And I want it to be spaced between so that there's more spacing to click things. And for this, I want to add another frame. I'm going to hit Shift A because I'm going to add another icon into this. I'm going to turn off the padding for the up and down. The left and right padding can stay. It doesn't really have an effect. So I'm going to rename this year and month. Then I'm going to add another icon That's the down arrow icon that I want to be here, right here. So let's search for down. Yeah, I like this one. I'm going to click on this. You can see here, just pick the correct frame for me, and then I'm just going to import it into that place. Nice. That's perfect. Let's shift this to the right hand side, and I want to center. You can see here it's this and this, they don't align, so I want to center everything in this frame. That's better. And I'm going to reduce the space between. Let me use 2. Sorry, 2. Yeah, no space works. Oh, that's because there's some padding. Yeah, okay. No space works. There's some padding inside this already. So, and I want it to have a frame. I like my icons having frames. It just makes things cleaner. And when you're aligning things, it makes things work better. All right. So that's it for the hair picker. I want to add an icon here, an edit icon into this. I'm going to run iconify again and click on pencil. That's going to let users know that they can edit what's there. I'm just going to import it into the manual selector. Perfect. And I'm going to shift this to the right hand side. I want to center everything that's here as well. Perfect. I'm going to space this between, add space between. Alright, so that works. So that's it for the hair picker. Next up, we're going to start creating the down section of this calendar UI. Okay, next up, we are going to start adding our components into this frame right here. That's our day component. So I'm going to do that is, I'm just going to pick this one from here. And to get an instance, I will just hold Alt or Option or Mark, click and drag. Or I can go to the Assets panel and just drag it from here. But this is faster since I still have the component on my screen. So I'm going to drag this into my design and create a frame for it so that I can have a row. I can have rows and columns. So I'm going to create a frame pressing Shift A to add an auto layout frame, and I'm going to rename this as rows. And then I'm going to enter into the rows, and first of all, I want to take out the padding. So take out all the padding, everything. Great. So I'm going to click on the day components inside the rows, and I'm going to duplicate that. But first of all, I need to make sure that this has an horizontal direction selected on it. That's the auto layout. So that things can go like this and not like this. So I'm going to duplicate the day inside the frame by pressing Ctrl D 7 times because the 7 days of the week. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. And now I want this to fill the container and any space between, perfect spacing between all the items and there. Yeah, so that works. Alright, so now I'm going to create another frame for this row, so that I can have different lines of them going down like columns, creating the columns. So I'm going to do that by pressing Shift and A while the row is selected. Let's rename this as let me call this let me just call this a container, or let me call this the days container for now. Yeah, that works for now. And I want this to fill the container so it doesn't exceed the frame. And I'm just going to take out all the padding for now. Then we work with what we have here. And I'll go to the rows and duplicate it. Before I duplicate it, I need to make sure that this is moving vertically. So I'm going to go into the rows and duplicate it vertically by pressing Ctrl D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will need 5 for the days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then another one for the days of the week. That's the abbreviation for the days of the week. That's SMT and the rest of them. So alright, that works for now. Alright, perfect. So now for this days container, I need padding. I'm going to add 16. padding for this. And for the top and bottom, I can just leave it the way it is, or I can add padding, but for now I'm just going to leave it like this. So this works for now. I'm just going to go in here, turn this into fill container so it stays inside the frame. It all works. Alright, great. So up next, I'm going to start naming these components. I'm going to start adding specific letters into the components so that things start to make sense. So I'm going to name this ones SMT, that is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So how I'm going to do that, because I turned this element inside this component into a text property, so it's going to be easier for me to rename this. So once I click on the component, instead of me to click inside here and highlight it and change this to whatever I want, I'm just going to do that. Let me take that back. I'm just going to do that is to start from here. Okay, starting from here, and then go into this text property and change this to whatever I want. So S. If I click on S, you can see it changes over here. Alright, so I'm going to do that for here as well. For the rest of them. See, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday lastly. And I'm going to do the same thing for the rest of these. 1, 2, 3, 4 down to 31. That should end here. Now if you have a faster way of doing this, you can go ahead and do it, but I'm just going to do this how I know. And yeah, I should probably fast forward this.
A few moments later.
Okay, so now we're done adding all the numbers from 1 down to 31, number 31. And we are going to change a few things where, like these extra numbers that are here, we're going to turn them off so that they're not in view, because there are only 31 days in a month, as we all know, at most in a month. And you can see it's spread all over the screen. I'm going to change this to packed, so packed to the left hand side. Alright, that's great. And usually the padding could be sometimes a little bit smaller if you do this. So what you have to do is to come here, pick any of the elements and just press Alt on your keyboard or Option or on Mac, and then you can use that to compare the spaces between elements on the UI. So over here you can see it's 23.83 for my calculations, and I'm just going to add that here in the space between 23.83, and boom, that's the same size right now. So up next, I'm going to add some buttons beneath all of this. It's going to be our call to action buttons. That'll be cancel and Control D to duplicate this. This one is going to be done. Alright, I'm going to create an auto layout frame for this, hitting Shift and A, and then changing it to horizontal direction. And then I'm going to make this show the container and rename this frame. And the shortcut for renaming, by the way, is Control R. If you want to use the shortcuts, I prefer it is faster. So I'm going to name this buttons, this frame buttons. And with this, I'm just going to have a space between on them and add some padding, 16 left and right, so that I can align with everything else. And almost done. I'm just going to add some padding to the top of this because I don't like how close it is to the numbers. So how I'm going to do that is to individually add padding by clicking this independent padding button here. So once I click it, I can now add padding to different individual sections of this. So I'm just going to put it at alright, there is fine. Okay, yeah, let's do 25 or 30. Alright, 30 is fine. Alright, up next, I'm going to start styling this. Let me see if I can reduce the size of this a little bit. Alright, that's okay. Alright, I'm going to start styling this calendar so things start to look exactly like what we have over here. Our design over here, the colors and the rest of them. Alright, so first I'm going to turn this current date into the current date variation. of the components that we created earlier. And then next up, I'm going to change the color of this to our primary color. So I'm going to hit I on the keyboard to bring out the color picker, or I could go here and also get the color picker from here if I want. But I is faster, so I'm just going to pick this color right here, which is our primary color. Oh no, that's too harsh. That's too harsh. I'm going to use I, pick this other one, better. And for this background, I'm going to pick the lighter shade. Alright, and then for the text, the both of them, I'm going to use shift to pick the both of them, control and shift to go into the frames, and then clicking it to pick the both of them. And I'm going to pick the primary color, hitting I, and then picking the primary color for the text. All right, and up next, this text I want it to be bold, a little bit bolder, so I'm just going to pick semi-bold for that. And then for this text over here, each and every one of them, I'm also going to make them semi-bold as well. Yeah, that's looking good. Alright, so for the buttons, the call to action buttons, to draw more attention to them, I will also give them primary color. And this is looking like exactly what we have before. As you've noticed, I added some rounding to this UI already. So I added for the container, I gave it 4 corner radius round. And then for this, I gave it 2. So you can do the same thing if you want, or you can just leave it sharp, whichever one works for you. And for this buttons right here, I'm just going to make them semi-bold as well, to draw more attention to them. And now things are looking very close, or if not exactly to what we have here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much exactly what we have there. And up next, we are going to add some interaction, an animation to this UI right here. So yeah, let's go on and do that. All right, so next we're going to move into the prototype stage, the prototyping stage. All right, next we're going to move into the prototyping stage, and we're going to begin doing that by adding some interactions into and animations into this. We're going to add interactions into our components that we created in the beginning of this video, and then in turn those interactions to create some animations when we play the prototype for this UI. So let's begin. So we're going to begin by pressing Alt 9 or Option 9 on Mac. That's going to take us into prototyping mode, and then, or you can also click up here to switch to the prototype panel, and then we're going to add some interactions into this. So for this, I'm going to let me just open this up a little bit so that things are clearer when I'm adding interactions. Click on that, drag it up here. All right, I'm just like to be perfect. All right, so I'm going to add interactions here right now. For the default state, I want it to switch to the selected state when clicked. So that's on click. I need to change to the selected state, and I need that to smart animate in 300 ms, and I'll use the ease out. That's fine for me. And then when the selected state is clicked as well, I want it to switch back to the default state. So I'm just going to drag that little plus icon there, plus button, and drag it back into the default state. And that does it for me. On click, it changes to the default state, smart animate. Figma remembers your and retains your settings, your interaction details. So it just keeps it that way. And then for the default state, I want it to switch to the hover state while I'm hovering. So I'm going to change the trigger from on drag or on click to while hovering. So while hovering, change, and I want it to switch a little bit faster. So I'm just going to make this. I don't know why I cannot click and change this. It used to work before. So I'm going to drag this back to let's say 250, somewhere around 250 or somewhere around 250 is fine for me. And then while hovering, okay, let me just show you something. Let me show you something that happens if you don't if you don't do this, if you don't create another interaction for when this is clicked on, when the hover state is clicked on, you're going to have issues making this work. And let me show you what I mean. Now I'm just going to leave things the way they are, and I'm just going to play this prototype. So the way things are right now, everything is looking nice. The hover state is looking nice. Yeah. But what happens when I click on any of this? See, it does not work. Why? Is because we haven't added interaction for the hover state. And we're going to do that very quickly right now. We're also going to add interaction for this selected state, because as you can see right here, the selected state also does not have hover state on top of it, and it's supposed to have. So it's supposed to have that, and also the selected state on top of it. So next we're going to add an on click on this, on click interaction. This on click you should change back to default. So on click changes to default state. Smart animate 300 ms back to that 300. Yeah, perfect. And then for this one, we want it to hover. We want that hover effect on top of it. So the hover effect, I think I put an hover effect on this instead. So for this, change to on click. Okay, nice. And for this, it changes to this. On click, it changes to hover state. No, on while hovering, it changes to hover state. That's what I want. This one on click. Alright, nice. And this one on click, it has a hover state right now, but I want it so that when it's clicked as well, it changes to the selected mode, the selected variant. Alright, great. Let's see how that plays out right now. We're going to click on this and click the play button again. And let's see, nice. Everything is hovering right now, including the selected state. And once I click on any one of these, oh, that's not working. Let's see what the problem is. I haven't added, oh, I dragged it to the wrong side. That is a big mistake. I'm supposed to drag this here to the selected state, not the default state. Alright, let's go back to our prototype mode. Yeah, so things should be working quite nicely right now. Nice. Alright, great. You click out, it changes, you click, it stays. Nice, including this, click, it changes, and the hover state and all of that. Alright, so that's it for our calendar. You can see the cool animations happening in there. It's quite nice. And I know on an iPhone or an Android phone or whatever mobile device you're using, you don't really enjoy this the way you're enjoying it now. But this can also be useful for click and drag. Let's say someone wants to click and drag. Someone holds the screen and clicks this and drags somewhere here. You're also going to have all of this on your iPhone. If that's something you like, you can also design this for your developers to put that into their work, to put that into the mobile application. So yeah, so that's about it. And now the next thing we are going to do is to take this and put it into an existing UI that I created some time ago, and let's see what it will look like on a real phone.
A few moments later.
So now for this final part of the video, we are going to add, I have just like I've done here, I've added the UI to an existing UI, an old project of mine, and we're going to see how it plays out, what it looks like on a real phone. So I've added the interactions to these already, so I'm just going to play the prototype so that we can all see what it will look like on a real phone. I'm going to press play there, and then once I click on this, it should open up. So that's it, the hover states and selected states. So yeah, so once I click on this, this is where I added the interaction. You can see the change over here. You can see that. So I'm going to cancel this and start it over so you can see that change. That's the use of this section. That's one of the uses. The other use is to use this to edit what is inside here manually rather than using this calendar UI. So click on this, you can see that change. Click on done, changes the date over here. So we've come to the end of this tutorial. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And if you have any tutorial video requests, please leave a comment. Thank you.